I was a 16-year-old girl and I was driving with my family to Seabrooke for the weekend. The weather was amazing and we were excited. I had an annoying brother who can't keep his nose out of my business and I hated him. My mom was divorced and it was just the three of us. The drive was warm and pleasant. We started at sunrise and it was such a beautiful landscape. The weekend was actually about my mom meeting with her old friend, Ellen. They were friends since forever. We reached their house by afternoon and I loved their house the moment I saw it. It was one of those houses which we stare for minutes to take in its beauty and wish to be those people who live there. Well, after all the boring introductions and talking were over, we had lunch. After a while, we were about to leave the house when a voice from above came.
"Why don't you stay with us this weekend?"
I turned up and saw this handsome cute guy. The next thing I noticed was this extreme discomfort in Ellen's face as he told it. It was obvious that she didn't want us to stay in her house. And I got suspicious as this guy didn't even come out and say hi to us. After all, we were guests, right? He continued,
"We have a lot of space and it would be nice to have some guests here."
Well, 5 minutes later, we were unpacking in their house. I had nothing against that. In fact, I was extremely happy about it. And I have a goal from my weekend now. That evening, it was pleasant and my family was literally passed out and I decided to take a walk to the beach. I was laying on the seashore staring at the skies. The place was unnaturally empty. I assumed that the population of the area was low and went back to relaxing. I loved the silence and it was like one of those vacation episodes and I went to another state of consciousness. I almost dozed off when I was hit by an impulse. A boost of adrenaline pumped through my body and my heartbeat raced as my eyes were shut closed. I couldn't open my eyes and I felt like my body was paralyzed. It was like one of those dreams in which people just can't move or scream. There was a foul smell in the place and I started crying.
Please, no! Oh my God, please.
I tried to calm down and find a way out when I felt sharp things crushing my body like someone is throwing stuff at me. I started coughing and then felt like I was stabbed in my stomach. The next thing I remember, I was laying down inshore like a trash. I was barely able to open my eyes. It felt like a really bad hangover. I took deep breaths and calmed down. Brad was sitting beside me staring at my face. I asked him, "What happened to me? Was I dreaming?" His eyes were stationary and was just staring into mine and he smiled like I said something funny. He replied,
"Darling, you were strung by something. You were just
"Just what?"
hallucinating, I guess."
I wasn't sure if I believed him. It felt real and I was pretty confused. I asked him, "My mom said that you were mentally disturbed. What's up with that?" He threw his smile at me again and rolled his blue eyes.
"Well, I am struck alone in my home. I don't have much friends."
And all I heard from that was that he's alone and single. And believe me, with a guy like that I was so ready to mingle. He stood up and asked,
"You are not afraid of the ocean, are you?"
Then I looked around and realized it was dark and cold. Before I could reply anything, he took off his shirt and ran into the waves. And eventually he made me wet. We had an amazing time and we lost track of time. He said, I don't even remember the last I laughed this much. That was the moment I kissed him. I wanted that moment to last forever. I thought my weekend turned from irritating to amazing. I heard someone scream from a distance. It was like a death scream. My heart sank just hearing that. He asked,
Are you hearing that too?
He looked tensed. We started running away from the place. Brad stopped in intervals and stared hard at something. It bothered me when he halted and walked the other way. He was nervous with tears dropping off him. I couldn't bear to see him like that. The screams nulled off, but we started getting creepy vibes from the place. Brad wasn't listening to my voice. Brad was more angry than scared. My brother just grabbed me from behind.
Where were you? Mom is freaking out.
The scream came again. There was a light coming from a distance. Brad ran towards the place furiously and my brother followed him. I was freezing without much clothes on, and so I ran back to home with mixed feeling about the guys. I threw up and my body was numb. Ellen was too worried about Brad and I barely managed to spit out what happened. His mother seemed extremely worried. I felt responsible for what's happened. Maybe Brad is disturbed. The house got loud with mothers worried about their sons, with me rolled up in a corner trying to feel my fingers. And that's when Brad walked down the stairs from his room like he has just woke up after a long sleep, all dry and warm. He spoke.
Can you keep it down? And trying to sleep. And sick all day.
Now everyone thinks I am crazy. Even I doubted myself. After everything that's happened, how can you not doubt yourself? The guy went back and locked his room.